You know, it seems like lately there is a scam for everything from taxes to charities, and now it's affecting bails. Joining us is Julie Henderson, president of the North Carolina Bail Agents Association. Welcome to the show, Julie.
Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, it's early, isn't it? I bet you're used to these hours, though. You probably have a 24-hour schedule in a lot of cases.
Yes, it is 24/7, 365.
See, that's what I'm talking about. Join the club. I know exactly how you feel. Okay. So it seems like scammers, though, in North Carolina are really exploiting family emergencies to steal money. And that even comes to saying that your relative or someone you love or someone you care about is in jail. Tell me what's going on.
So we've seen an influx of the scams regarding bail, and there are a couple of them that are happening in the state of North Carolina. But recently, it's really amped up in that they will contact a family member or loved one of someone that is incarcerated, and sometimes not even incarcerated. But most of the time, an individual actually is incarcerated, and they're reaching out to their family. They're putting the pressure on them. They're making it appear as if they must send money urgently right then. If you don't, you're not going to get to see or talk to your loved one. They're going to move them. There's going to be no contact. They're in a bad jail. You know, they're really putting the pressure on the individual that's getting the phone call with a sense of urgency, and you must do it now.
And that's what scammers seem to use a lot, is that sense of urgency and preying on your fear, which, you know, and AI is kind of coming into that, not preying on fears, but AI voice cloning is making agents seem more convincing and these calls more convincing, right?
They are. They can get clips of videos about the actual person that's arrested, the defendant, one incarcerated. They can get that very easily off social media or other entities. And then they can use that to prey upon the family or loved one with their own voice of their loved one.
And they're demanding payment before the family really has time to verify the situation, which is generally the case. It's like when they call up and say, your electricity is going to be turned off in 30 minutes if you don't pay, and you know that's not the case. So what are some real cases where scammers impersonated bail agents, and this is interesting, in person?
Yes, they're getting bolder as
No
well.
kidding.
We now have people who will portray themselves as a North Carolina bail bondsman, try to take money from others, and then provide dummy receipts, dummy paperwork. Of course, those individuals are not actual bail bondsmen. The individual may not know for quite some time. They're still sitting there waiting on their loved one to be released, and they're out the money because that wasn't a bondsman that they were actually doing business with.
Well, and it seems like, and I couldn't believe this when I read this, Julie, that scammers have even approached families outside real bail bond offices pretending to be legitimate bail agents?
Yes, ma'am. That has happened in multiple cases. We actually have a pending police department report ourselves for someone who apparently met someone in our parking lot and gave a dummy receipt. And then, of course, again, the person never got out of jail because they were not actually bonded.
Right. Well, what are some warning signs families should really watch for? And I mean, like now.
Correct. So they're going to ask you for some maybe suspicious apps. Some of the apps that you can transact money over your phone. They're going to ask for Bitcoin. They're going to ask you to go to a drugstore or a gas station and purchase certain gift cards. Bitcoin gift cards, those are immediately a red flag. That is not ever going to be an instance that a North Carolina bondsman is going to be transacting business.
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I always thought bails were a percentage, you know, of what was set by the judge, and it had to be in cash. Is that the case?
So you do pay a percentage to a bail bondsman for their services. You can pay the full amount of the bond in cash in North Carolina, but that would be normally to the magistrate.
Okay, gotcha. So, see, there's a key difference that I wouldn't have thought about just from watching Law and Order. Fortunately, I've not been in that situation, and I hope I'm knocking on wood here as I'm talking to you, Julie, that I'm not in that situation, but a lot of people are. What are some, you know, and it's scary. It really is. It's scary that you could pay out money that way. I was almost fooled by one, you know, when I was trying to upgrade a ticket. So, you know, it was like, oh, well, if you'll send us this amount of money, we can do this. We'll give it back to you. No.
Right.
No. If they're going to have you go through, like you said, different apps or ask for Bitcoin, that should be a big red flag right there. What are some simple steps, though, Julie, that listeners can take to verify an arrest and avoid losing those thousands of dollars?
I think the first thing is to just take a breath and verify. Just take a step back. No one should be pressuring you in that manner to do it immediately. You can contact the facility that they are incarcerated in to verify that they actually first are incarcerated. Secondly, you're going to try to verify that you're dealing with an actual bail bondsman. Bail bondsmen are licensed in the state of North Carolina by the Department of Insurance. They could provide you a dummy license number on the phone. So you can very easily online check to ensure that you're dealing with a licensed bail bondsman. You can do a simple Google search, but there is a list of licensed bondsmen at nccourts.gov under a Find a Bail Bondsman. You can literally just Google that, and you can see a list of all licensed bondsmen. So those are two key things that you can do. You can also ensure that maybe your family has a password or a code word that only your family knows, so that if there is an emergency situation, and no matter what the phone call might be, if you have any doubt with an email, a text, or a phone call, you have to pass that password within the family.
I like that one. I use that one with my son about having somebody pick him up from school if it wasn't my ex-husband or me, at the time. But Julie Henderson, president of the North Carolina Bail Agents Association, you can get more information at ncbaa.com. And this has been great. Thank you so much for sharing the information and being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Have a great day.